It has been very interesting out there, to say the least. I think that we have all been experiencing some super difficult challenges, and at the same time just navigating it with so much more awareness than ever. And it is so much to be grateful for, even with all of its complexities, even with everything not making sense, everything seeming like it is falling apart, and really taking that step back to just observe and really be with the energies, with all of the different energies, with all of the different aspects of ourselves, and just allowing them to work themselves out, to transmute within us, to merge and to transform into your current story. Not into the old stories, not into the old things that we used to tell ourselves about the way that things had to be, about the plan and how things were going to work out, and what we actually wanted versus what we actually needed. And it's an interesting space to navigate. And I myself have really been going through another deep layer of embracing the energies. And I don't know where this video is going to take me, because I've just been having so many messages come through finally, which I'm thankful for, because if you're someone that resonates with your channel being very active, when you're really going through it, my channel just shuts down. It really shuts down, and I feel very disconnected from myself, and I have to really work my way back to there, and not get on here and pretend that, oh yeah, everything's great, because I did that for so long. And that is one of the things that really wanted to come through. And I definitely know that this message is going to be for a very specific collective that has really been growing in exponential ways. And I've been asked for some time, and I had to really become comfortable with it. So today is going to be my first day, like actually really talking about some of my life experiences and how I've navigated these awakenings. Because if you've aligned with my channel, by the way, this is Guided and Saged. I'm Aleluya Jen, and I channel and tap into divine consciousness. I tap into the field. I channel letters from God. I do a lot of different things that involve my connection and expression of consciousness, conscious awareness. And with that being said, I would say it's been about 6 years now. And mind you, I was doing wellness work. I've had an alternative medicine degree since 2011. And I practiced as a wellness coach for a couple of years, and then made a big move to California. And I had made that move with the intention of growing, because I felt like I was being a coach and I was working with people from such a different perspective than what I am now. And I felt that I wasn't really embodying, they say those who can't do teach. I felt like that was really resonating for me at that time, and I wanted to become the person that I was portraying myself to be, and I knew I wasn't at the time. And so it took a while. it took a really good amount of time, a lot of deep work, what I would consider a karmic relationship. And the reflection that we were of each other was so intense. And I'm going to continue to go through some of these details because, one, I think it's going to resonate for a lot of you, and two, I think it's just important to talk about the spiritual journey because there's so many teachers, even the ones that I've learned from and still learn from and watch pretty much every day in my morning connection time. And it's like everything always seems like unicorns and rainbows and so much spirituality, and we're connected and we're tapped in, we're all of these things, but there is the duality of all of it. There is the other side of things. There is the integration side. There is the learning side and the integrating that learning side. And if you're connected to this message, you're definitely someone who would consider themselves highly intelligent, gifted, highly intuitive. You've just never quite fit in anywhere. You may have gone through several traumatic experiences. And I'm going to get back to my current last stage of journey, but I do want to rewind. It took me years, even previous to moving to California, to get out of that, like all of the trauma. I mean, I had so much childhood trauma that, and I'm not going to go too deep into it only because I just don't allow it to define me anymore. And it's like past lives. But even just the time and the sacredness of years of working through that and seeing things from a perspective of like, oh, you know, some people out here, y'all, do not even, and this does not make us better than them in any way, shape, or form, because we are all on these individual journeys, and I'm so gonna get into that as well. But, oh, the squirrel's right here. Hi. Oh, I wish you guys could see. But there are other human experiences and dimensions of consciousness that people live in for a very, very long time. Perspectives of consciousness, I like to call it, that people live in for decades. And if you are tapped into this message right now, you are not one of those people. You are someone who grows exponentially fast, and like I said, would probably consider themselves to be very gifted and smart. And through those traumatic experiences that you had, you were really able to grow from them, and not in a sense where these awful things had to happen to you. And that again is just a part of this spiritual growth, and you go through that phase of not feeling like it's more of a transcendence. It's more of a deep remembering and understanding in order so that you can catapult forward, because other people are, and their experiences and their different incarnations and their entirely different expression of the divine unified field that they are, that has absolutely nothing to do with us, with you or me. All of us are so individually different, but from them and their unique experience, they might go through what people that are tapped into this message right now go through over like I said, a 30 or 40 year lifetime, and we're like bouncing through this shit in like 5 years, sometimes less than that. I know since that 6 year ago mark where I was able to finally let go of that relationship and transcend everything that relationship brought forward into my conscious awareness about where I was. And then it was a plant medicine journey that both him and I had actually taken, and it kind of like moved us into a place where we both recognized like, okay, we got to get out of this. It was just a few months later, and again, that is why I'm passionate about plant medicine for people at very specific times in their journey. Anyways, so from that time, I began really becoming committed to raising my vibration. It was something that I just felt inclined to do. And there was no, I didn't even really know what raising my vibration at the time really meant. I was always tapped in to a higher consciousness than most of the people around me. It helped that I went to a school where there were psychics and Reiki healers and kinesiologists and traditional Chinese medicine doctors, so I was already immersed in a very alternative environment. The nervous system has become so popular lately, and that was like all that we talked about back then. But interestingly enough, I had not even really scratched the surface of my nervous system work then. But anyways, raising my vibration became something that had come into my experience, like, okay, this is what we need to do. And I started meditating more than I ever have. I become very committed to a breathwork practice. And shortly, I would say within 4 or 5 months, I began having what I called at the time psychic attacks, because again, a different level of consciousness and awareness. And at that time, I was still coming from the paradigm of religiosity. I had actually grown up in a cult, a modern day cult, and it was very, very non-denominational Christian. And so my whole perception of God, it was the birthplace for my spirituality, but it was very, very skewed. And so again, this is a certain level of conscious awareness that I was experiencing at that point. And I was starting to realize, like, wow, there's more to this. There's something more than just this God in the sky. And and I began to, like I said, have these psychic attacks, and I had realized that I had been channeling the whole time. And during that time, throughout my relationship, I had really become addicted to alcohol, to using it as a coping mechanism. I didn't want to end the relationship, and so I was just kind of numbing my feelings rather than facing getting out of that relationship. And so then it began to really come into my awareness that, like, okay, we've really got to slow this alcohol thing down. And I was also realizing that I was so scared of my own channel, and I was so disconnected from my own inner guidance, and also that I was so aware of everything going on, of people's emotions. I remember at that time it was so difficult for me to even go to the grocery store. Costco was like my least favorite place to go with anyone ever. And it was because I was just becoming so awake and sensitive, and I always was like this, but because I was actually regulating my nervous system for the first time in my whole adult life, and I was taking away things that were, and man, me and alcohol, we had our own relationship for a little while, because it was a battle, it was a struggle, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could control it. But yeah, so I'm going through this time, I'm having this awareness with this, and this awareness that there's just certain things that I just start like removing things, and things just start not feeling right. One of the things that started really not feeling right was the work environment that I was in. And thirsty, hold on. And I was becoming miserable in it. And what was interesting was I was running other people's businesses, and I had just organically, energetically attracted amazing staff, amazing teams. I built amazing teams, and so I really couldn't have asked for much more than what I had. Given the circumstances of the life I was living, like, I had it pretty good, is what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to move this because it's so hot. Okay, I'm back. If you know anything about SoCal, whew, it just, if you get caught in that little inch of that sun, it's so hot. Yes. So then I again just kept working on my vibration and raising my vibration and raising my vibration and raising my vibration. I found, and again, this came from nowhere. Nobody told me about this. None of my friends were raising their vibration. No, this wasn't I mean, I've always gone to yoga, meditation, drum circles, things like that. But people were there for different reasons. And I was really experiencing that even though I was in these spiritual places and spaces, that I was still feeling disconnected because I felt like I was just seeing things with so much more awareness than the people around me. And if you are here right now, I am so sure that however you ended up here, you are or have experienced something similar to this nature, or you know of this nature, or you know exactly what I'm talking about right now, and you can fully relate to this. It was really tough at the time until I again moved through yet another, I would say, quantum leap, because as I was saying, I don't know if I said it or I'm gonna say it now, I think it was about 5 times in the last 6 years that I'm gonna use the word quantum leap, quantum jump. I also really that's just the more known term, but I feel like it's really just stabilizing in a higher state of consciousness, and confirmation burp, and stabilizing in higher states of consciousness is fucking hard. It is so hard, and it is so hard when most of the people around you are not operating. You're in this same world, but you are operating from a completely different place. It feels isolating. You feel ostracized. I don't know if that's the right word, but you just feel like you're going insane. You literally feel like you are losing your mind. And I have experienced, and every time it's happened, because we are experiencing life in a completely different way than other people are. And everyone is. That's the interesting thing about it. And that's part of this very large and encompassing message that's trying to come through right now. The big thing that this last jump into this higher state of consciousness showed me is the whole I am nothing and I am everything at the same time. And I moved through the whole, okay, there's something more to this, and then I started going through the whole job thing, and then it takes me a couple of years, and then I have a huge life thing happen. 2 huge life thing happens that literally shattered, one with a relationship, one with just life in general, where I'm like, girl, like, you thought you had your shit together, and you're still doing some weird stuff right now. You're still making some decisions that are not coming from a very grounded place. There are parts of you that are still living in fear and scarcity that are making these decisions, and parts of you that are not being authentic and not being true, that are making these decisions that are causing these things to happen. And these things can be anything. It's like I moved through that and then got to a place where once I transcended those crises, those crises, once I transcended that, then it was like I was I was out looking at my life from such a completely different vantage point. And then it was like, I gotta get out of this job. And then a series of events happen. That ended up getting me. I got this "and so it is" tattooed on my hand with the intention that I was going to move back to Miami. I was going to move back to Florida, and 13 months later, that happened. And then in between that, I started really getting deep into ritual, which was what I had already been doing, and which were what had led up. Again, I'm telling you, there was a vibration raising that was instinctual, that I was isolating and hermiting, and I was literally working myself up into these higher dimensions of consciousness. And there would be these breakthroughs that would happen, that would cause a shift, that would make another decision, that would push me forward towards another phase of evolution. And on the outside, my family, my friends thought I was crazy. People were like, what are you doing with your life? But it was all so very intentional, and it was also very valuable. I started working a lot with Hecate. I started working a lot with Isis. And I was really resonating with working with those archetypes, which I know I just instinctually knew that I had already in past lives. No explanation, I just knew it. And I'm sure that's going to resonate for someone. And when I was doing that, I was really getting in touch, like I said, with the ritual portion of it. And then I met this spiritual teacher, and then I was doing ritual, and then this other spiritual teacher, and then I was doing ritual with them, and then there was plant medicine ceremonies, and there were all of these things that just got really weird and got to a point where I then began to transcend spirits and what is demon and what is devil. And even though I had already moved, and I think this is so important for someone here, because this is one thing that has really been wanting to be expressed, this perspective of awareness that was very dark. And I began thinking that my teachers were putting curses on me, and I began thinking that they were using dark magic and black magic, and I'm not trying to trigger nobody here. If you can't relate to this, please, you can feel free to opt out of this video at this juncture. But there is a point when you start to realize that that's a story too, and that is also a different perspective and dimension of consciousness and awareness that you can get stuck in. And I began to realize that I had transcended that, and that is really hard, because now I'm taking away everything. Now there's no God in the sky. Now, demons and angels are not exactly how I once saw them to be. They're aspects of myself. They're parts of me. They're parts of the unified one. They are parts of the whole. They're options. They are options as to what am I going to choose to give my focus and energy to. And that takes time. It takes time to move through that. And there are a lot of, I like to say, opportunities. I've changed that also in where I have leaped to, and in the current state of consciousness that I am residing in, that there are opportunities. I used to think that I was being tested by the universe, and you can call it a test. You can if you want to, but it's not like that's the big piece, is that we're like, oh yeah, God, the universe, and we move out of this belief in God in the same way that we used to, but you're undoing what, 17, 18 years minimum of programming. And now you all of the sudden don't believe in that. But so then you know that there's this cosmic force, there's something else, there's this divine intelligence, there's something else. And then you're like stuck in between these two worlds because you've believed in this one thing for so long, but you know life has proven to you that there's more than that. And then you move out of that, and then what does that look like? And then you move out of that, and then you begin healing from those stories, and you begin seeing things from an even more higher vantage point. And it's just like you're constantly bringing the focus out and the focus out and the focus out, but then you focus all the way in at certain points, because then you're like, oh, this. And then you want to understand every part of that. And there's no need to try to understand every part of that. When we try to understand our trauma, and we try to understand why our parents did this and why and then we just put, our body doesn't know the difference, and we just put ourselves back in that place. And it's this constant contraction and expansion of these stories and of this programming. And if you're tapped in here, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, and you understand this constant exponential growth process that the people that are connected to this channel are experiencing. And it is hard. It is hard, and it gets easier. But also, as we expand, our higher self knows. It knows. This cosmic intelligence knows what our intentions are. And I'm pretty sure that was in this letter that I'm gonna get to eventually. But it's like, it knows what we really need in order to, our limited mind, our mind is so limited, and we only can imagine what we've already known and experienced so far, or saw somewhere, or something. That's literally all that we can imagine. And we know at a core level what we want. And it's to be free. It's freedom. Ultimately, that's what everyone wants. Everyone just wants freedom. But the universe, the field, the incredible magic that is within the whispering of these trees and the little squirrelies, and the wind against my face right now, the smell of the grass, the perfection and imperfection that is within everything. It knows how to get you to where you want to go in the path of least resistance, in the easiest, most make sense kind of way that you're not even able to conjure up. And the growth of that, yeah, it gets easier because your capacity builds. Especially when you stop running for a long time. I was doing like 2 steps forward and then like 5 steps back, I'd say, for probably like a year. But those 2 steps forward were some real. But in any case, when you make the conscious decision to choose from these energies what you are going to give your focus and attention to, this is how you become a master, because it's all choice. And if you're on this channel, I don't even want to say become a master. I want to say that you already are a master, and that's why you have gone through some things that just other people are like, what? I went through some awful shit, but I transcended it, and I'm no longer a victim to it. And I've moved through so many different dimensions of consciousness, and I've moved through so many different perspectives and stories and ways that I approached my life, and had to stabilize in all of them. And man, it is incredible. It is incredible to watch your life reconstruct, but it's not incredible. It's not an incredible feeling when it's falling apart, when it feels like it's falling apart. It never has been, and it never will be, but I have built so much capacity that when things start going seemingly terribly wrong, I know, and I have faith, and I have trust, and I resist in the beginning so much. Like, you guys don't get to see this on here, but because you know who's recording when they're in the middle of it, but it takes me a couple of days, and I have to go down to the depths of everything, and then I have to fucking surrender. Like, okay, what is the worst? And again, went through a whole stage of retraining myself not to go down the worst case scenario thing, because also you go through a phase of, and again, you may not resonate with this, but I have a feeling that you might. I went through, maybe you're going through this now, maybe you just need somebody to articulate the sitch, but you go through this phase when you start getting these high states, and you just sit around in them, and you don't integrate that. You don't integrate it. You don't bring it down, and you start what do people call this, spiritually bypassing. I call it just living in la la land, because you okay, we're back, we moved again. So yeah, spiritual bypassing, or basically pretending like, oh yeah, everything's great, I am this light worker, I am this chosen one, I'm here to help everyone else, I can see everything so clearly, and you obviously can't, so I need to help you. And it's funny, and everything just goes so perfectly for me all of the time. Everything is working out for me, and everything is working out for you, but you have to be perfect, and you have to be love and light all the time, and compassion, and no. And that in itself is a whole other, that took me like a year to work through, and that was not fun. We get stuck in these stages, and some people never leave those stages. A lot of my teachers in the past have never left those stages, and I'm sure a lot of your teachers have never left those stages, and you might be stuck in that stage right now, and you might be like, what is happening? But we find ourselves in these places because we are not allowing ourselves to feel all of the energies. We are staying in that holier than thou, I'm gonna call it, because it's what I'm gonna call it, but spiritual ego. You're staying, you now have developed this spiritual ego. And last year I hosted my first retreat, and I was deep in my spiritual ego then, and I say that with so much compassion towards myself, because like, I couldn't hurt a spider. I don't even like to kill spiders. My intention is always the best for everyone, but we're all teachers and we're all students, and at certain times in our life we teach all of what we know so far, and then we expand and we learn, and then we continue to teach from that space. And I remember I have this particular deck that I know I spoke about in a video previous at some point. I have this particular deck that I pick from when Spirit calls me to do that, and I got the card of integrity at that retreat, and I immediately had like a gut punch in my stomach, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I have a deeper level of authenticity that I have to reach, that is calling me to embody. There is a deeper level of integrity being called from me. And it was scary. And I know why it was scary, because I've already gone through this before. I already know what it's like to, and we set some powerful intentions at that time. All of us did individually, all different. And it was just amazing to watch as the universe created situations in which I was going to find that integrity. I wanted to become a humble leader, and man, did I get humbled. And just, I had my second Peru retreat. Nothing turned out the way it was supposed to. It was just nothing. I could have never imagined and it took me a long time to even get on here and scratch the surface with that, because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to talk about it. And without getting too deep into it, everything that I had set the intention for that retreat to be about, I had experienced fully. I had completely had to surrender to my plan, because I planned that I was going to be living in Peru for at least 6 months, maybe permanently. That would be where I would stay. And the universe made it really clear that that was not going to happen. And that's because there is this greater force that is bending reality towards what our actual intentions are on a very energetic level. Think about that house that you almost got, that you were so in love with and you wanted to move so badly there, and then it didn't work out, and then whatever it was, but you realized that that place was just not going to work out at all like how you thought it was going to work out. And then these jobs that you didn't get, or this one direction that you thought that you wanted to go, and then, man, if I cannot tell, because when you leap levels of consciousness over and over again in years' time, you experience a lot of that. You experience a lot of things that you thought that you wanted not working out. And it's because the intention is so great, and we are so powerful, but also none of this means anything. And this is going to bring me back to a juicy part of this, and then I'm probably going to read this letter and skedaddle. But there's a big bird's nest. The juicy part of this, again, back to that being nothing and being everything at the same time, is if you're here, you have either already reached this place or you are on your way to this place where you are realizing that, like, you came here for your experience. I literally made a whole ass video about that like a year and a half ago, where someone had asked me to talk about why we were here and channel that, and I did that, and that made perfect sense. But where I am standing now, it's like, now I'm really here for the experience. I'm really here just to do the simple things in life that I am naturally good at and that I naturally enjoy doing, and that all of these big, huge things that I thought that I wanted, I don't actually want. They were just stories about things, and most of them were just things that other people wanted or thought that they wanted. And even those things that they thought that they wanted, they got from someone else. And it's really just about finding what really brings you joy on like the deepest level. Channeling brings me so much joy because it's come so natural to me. I do it all day long, again, when I'm not like moving through those dark spaces. But even then, get some messages that come through that kind of help me out of them. But it is an interesting space to be in when you finally realize that, like, this is a game. We know this, we've been hearing this, we've been, the Matrix, everyone's talking about it, and TikToks, and everyone's becoming aware of this simulation, but this is it. And if you're here, you've already done this before. All of the things that you have experienced have just been things in order to allow you to transcend and remember. And it's not that serious. It's just so not that serious. And it's meant to be full of ease, and it's meant to be allowing, and it's meant to just let things unfold without any attachments to. And that in itself is a practice. That in itself is such a practice, to fully allow life to be beautiful, because all you have to do is have that deep intention of what it is that you want to experience, and that will come into fruition through the energy of all that is. It will come into fruition as long as you keep your attention and focus on it. And even when it doesn't happen exactly how you thought it would happen, something better happens. Something better happens. And getting to the point where you surrender in a way where it's, okay, this is what I want, or something better. If you know what it is like to feel, hear, see everything, if you can feel things literally in your body and you are aware of them, that alone is a gift. That alone is a gift. For some of us, that is the only gift. And if that is the only gift that you have, do you know how lucky that you are? Learning to trust that gift. If you can, instead of being a victim to the gift, use the gift to your advantage, to navigate life like, oh, have an interaction with this person, didn't feel right, nope, go da 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 da, didn't feel right, nope, da 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 da, oh, this feels good, okay, let's do that. You have this internal navigation system that is so precise and accurate and is operating at such a high level, and you're not using it. And instead you're like, oh my God, I feel everything, oh my God, and you're being a victim to it. That alone is another stage in consciousness development. And I'm just saying all this to say that if you're here with me right now, you're experiencing some of this at some level, and it's just important to know that you've already zoomed all the way out, babe. You've already zoomed all the way out, and now it's not like nothing has any point. But also nothing has any point. It's all just meant to be experienced and extracted from. And yeah, if you want to put all of your energy towards, manifesting so much financial abundance and tangible prosperity, cool. If you want to put all of your attention and focus towards, landing that corporate job and high position of authority, and that you can do that, but you're most likely probably not tapping into this channel. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening around, and this is the world that we are living in with this awareness that we have. And it's really just at this stage about integrating that, and when I'm saying integration, when I'm saying integrating, I think I got bit by an ant I think I got bit by an ant on my butt. When you are at this level where you've already had to surrender so fully so many times, and by doing that, you have just gotten to get closer to who you really are. You have been forced to stop living life for all of these reasons and things and stories that other people, like, once you have zoomed all the way out and you are now observing life, and you are feeling, and you are interacting with the energies, and you are allowing yourself to feel the emotions, and you are allowing yourself to choose and to decide, after feeling everything, what is your truth. Because you can feel fear about something, you can feel scarcity about something, but you know it's not truth. And eventually you work yourself out of that. And I'm gonna go back to the cult days, if you were here in the beginning and you remember me talking about that. So even at a very young age, I was like the teen coordinator and youth coordinator, and I was in it. I was in church. I was a church girl. And one of the awarenesses that came into me at like as a 15-year-old that really stuck with me, and that's been revisiting me recently, that I'm feeling inclined to share, because these dark rooms have been coming up a lot in my own personal letters and in the letters that I've been sharing with you guys. But when we turn out the lights at first, right? So I'm gonna use this, like, something seemingly awful happens, right? And so now we're like shockingly in the dark, right? And then we're sitting there, and then after time, like, we can either just panic, or we can just be like, okay, just breathe and let me just find my way. And this awareness back then came to me about how our eyes begin to adjust in the dark. And I think that's so great for where I am now. And I had actually forgot about this since then. It hasn't been in my awareness for a while. And the fact that it's visiting me now again is pretty impeccable. But pretty precise, because we're getting a lot of preciseness, aren't we? We're getting a lot of precise synchronicity lately. But anyways, so we begin to navigate, and our eyes adjust to the darkness, and then we can start to function, and then we can start to find our way through the dark room to the light switch, or to the door handle to get through to the next room. Again, this is all, metaphorically, but this really is what we're experiencing. And it's being comfortable in the dark and not panicking when the lights go out, and man, I've been through so many series of this lesson, and it just keeps coming back around, and I'm like, how much deeper do you want me to get this? But my higher self is like, girl, we're gonna make sure that you are built, you are solid, you are ready, you can hold everything that you've been calling in and asking for. And it has built that, and it has continued to, over the years, build the space and the capacity for the things that I was asking for. Because if you would have told me 6 years ago that I would be holding a retreat, an Earth Angel retreat, and then now a year later, and I'm like, I cannot believe I held an Earth Angel retreat. And again, only because there is such a different perspective that I hold, and because I have stepped out of a specific perspective about what it means to be an angel of the earth, and what it holds something different than it did at that time. And that to me in itself is such a beautiful representation of leaping in consciousness and of growing spiritually, and of taking the time to really integrate. And integration for me is so key, and I am working on, slowly, when it is ready it will be, but I am working on a little baby program on integration in the cycles. I think I might have mentioned that in a previous video. If not, I may have in my mind to you guys. But yeah, just really being one with our own cycle and flow, and not being scared of the growth, because this is spiritual growth and this is what it is about. And if you're here on this channel, like I said, you've had some exponential growth, and to where it's just left you, because every time it's like you ask for these things and then you get catapulted forward, and then you're like there and you're like whoa, and you're just trying to get your sea legs, and you're completely, I mean, there was a point, like when I first came back from Peru, that I didn't want to pray, I didn't want to meditate, I didn't want to do anything. There was weeks where I was just like, God, source is a joke. This is all some cosmic prank. I'm over all this shit. I'm so tired of everything. I didn't want to have nothing to do with anything. And I slowly started coming out of it, slowly started reconnecting with myself. My guidance, I was listening to my guidance, and I have been the whole time. And if you're here, you have been the whole time. And the basis of this channel and the basis of the work that I am continuing to grow into is moving with that inner guidance. Because even though I didn't know I was going to do this thing a year ago, or that thing 3 years ago, or that thing 2 years before that, it all brought me to where I am now. It all brought me to, I thought 2 years ago I thought then I was building a life that was the most incredible that I could ever imagine, that was the most in alignment with me. And now I would say the same thing, if not more, because life has gotten me more and more clear. It's gotten me more and more tuned in to who I really am. And I haven't been scared of the work, and I've done the work. And even when it's been brutal, I have sat in the dark room and I have waited until my eyes adjusted and I had found my way out. So I think that is a good place for me to stop just channeling about this message. So I am going to get into the letter though. It's a short one. Beloved, you are doing so great. We are so proud of you. It has not been easy. You have found yourself in dark rooms with energetic visitors that have really tested your willingness to voluntarily surrender completely to the next stage of your evolution. This is not to be taken lightly. There are so many who never reach this level. There are so many who run and numb from the discomfort of the void, but you have sat with it. You have sat with it and you have embraced all that it has had to offer. You have sat with your fear, and you have sat with your courage, and you have found a way to get comfortable enough in your own darkness to find your way to the light. This is how it is done. You are a master of this, and you are now only remembering because you lifted the veil. The choices you made a few weeks ago created a great catalyst that brought you to this place, very specific. That caused you to become one with the depths of your own despair, with the grief that dismantling causes, the grief that you have felt watching the way that you thought things were supposed to go once again break away, confirmation horn, break away from your very existence, because the magic within the intelligence better knows how to achieve the intentions that you set. You know what you want, but we know what you need. You are watching with us now, within the higher self, within the Most High. That is you. That is us. You are watching and observing as life reorganizes itself to guide you along your path of least resistance. You had to learn to surrender in a deeper way than you ever have in order to come into alignment with a more flow-based way of life, with a more receptive way of life. Continue to accept that things are going to surprise you more than ever. You are going to find yourself in places and spaces that you never imagined. You are going to find yourself brought in by resonant energy in every single aspect of your experience. There will not be one part of your life going forward that does not become completely harmonious with who you have become. Life is going to become more simple, yet more abundant, more free, yet more full, more open, and yet more safe. Give gratitude for this particular void, because it is the birthplace for your most authentic and true life than you have ever experienced in this incarnation so far. Allow it to come together and witness the symphony that you have created. Yeah, I mean, you've created a symphony, and just be so proud of yourself. Be so proud of yourself, because I've always resonated with the 144, with the light workers, with the earth angels. My last name literally has the word loose in it, has the word light. There has been so much in me that had for so long made that my existence, made that my divine mission, and put so much pressure on it, when really it's just me being me. And I've been told very recently that those of you that resonate with my messages are bridges, and bridges for bridges. And I have been told by my higher self, by God, by source, by this divine intelligence, that that's what I came here to do. I came to be a bridge for the bridges. And it doesn't mean that this is what my whole entire life and existence has to be about, and that I have to be stuck in this spiritual. No, I'm just practicing magic. I'm just practicing magic that I already know, that's already in my DNA, and that I am slowly remembering. And I'm committed to my evolution, because I understand that I'm here to play. I understand that even though the world has hypnotized me into so much fear, and has scared me and continues to try to scare me out of my own power within, that I know I have a deep remembering, and being committed to making the choice to be that person, and to show up as that person, and to walk into rooms and be someone full of integrity, someone that doesn't talk about people, someone that doesn't partake in conversations that don't feel good to my heart, someone that doesn't have casual sex, and not because sex isn't okay, but because I just don't feel like sharing my energy with random people. There are so many ways that we are that light without having to be the light. And it's just important to remember that we came here for this human experience, and there's so much more to it than the roles that we play. And those roles change sometimes. Some people call them assignments and I don't know who gives them those assignments. I be like, I give myself these assignments in this life, but again, different perspectives, different ways of seeing things. And myself a second. So much is wanting to come through. And it's important to realize not to get caught up in all of the stories, not to get caught up in all of these places that we feel like we have to fit in, or that we feel like, oh, this is going to give a reason or a meaning to why I went through all of this and what. No, don't hold yourself in that space. We're here recognizing now and zooming all the way out, like I'm everything and I am nothing at the same time. Every single person on this planet, even that annoying person that cuts you off, is literally a part of these energies. It's a part of everything else, and everything is of equal importance. And the best and the most that you can do here, if you are a light worker or a chosen one, or you resonate with those things, if those things have been sitting inside of you since as far back as you can remember, then the best way that you can be that is just by being you. It's just by going through the things that you're going through, extracting what you can and transcending it and turning it into a strength and turning it into power, and not being a victim and not being a spiritual guru and not feeling like you have to change people and not feeling like you're here to save people. If you are here, you've most likely come to a certain understanding, overstanding about all of these things. And just like this letter has so clearly stated, that we have come so far. We have moved through so much over the years. We have been alone in our ways of seeing the world a lot. And we're finally getting to the point where we realize that it's not important. The only thing important is this present moment. And we really get that now, because we were hearing that for years, but we weren't getting it in the same way that we get it now. And that if we just chill out, it's all working in our favor. It is all such genius. It is all such genius. We are such genius when we just allow ourselves to be, when we just trust ourselves, when we just trust our gifts. It took me years to even trust my own channel. Like, there's a lot of things I'm supposed to be doing, but this is one of the things I'm supposed to be doing. And I know so because it feels so good. And I could literally talk about consciousness, and I could share all of this wisdom forever. I'm constantly, that's another thing that I've had to work through, is it's just constant wisdom overflowing, and knowing when to share it and how to share it, and being aware of when there's receptivity and feeling for that. It's practicing our gifts, guys. And having confidence in our gifts. And when you have confidence in something, you don't have to show it off all the time. It just is. And it's so natural. It's so natural. But yeah, I know this message was a little all over the place, but I have just had so much incredible pieces coming together and downloads just really wanting to come out. And even though I was navigating some big shifts and changes, I'm so grateful that I got to finally feel in a place to get on camera here and share some of these things with you. I hope that it resonated. If it did, please share, please leave a comment, so that, because the ultimate goal is to build community. That's one thing that is my focus now. And the more that we're able to talk and share about how this is so resonant for us is important, because it's just a reminder that there's other people that are experiencing life from a similar vantage point that we are, and we can be able to connect. We're already so disconnected. So please leave a comment, please share about whatever it was that resonated with you in this video. I would love that. I definitely want to be able to connect with my soul family. So please leave a comment. And then what else? Yeah, you can email me. My email will be in the description box. I'm in the process of moving and my dog tore his ACL. There's so many things happening, but again, a big shift. I was already working on my website, so it's under construction right now, but my email will be there if you have a specific question that you would like to ask Source. Again, just to reiterate, all of us can access Source. All of us have a channel. Some have just tapped into it a lot and done that specific work for lifetimes, or in this lifetime. And if you are just not confident enough yet in your own channel and want to be able to have a channeled letter from God, and you have a specific question that you would like to ask, you can email me. I would be happy to be that bridge for you, because I know that it will, I know that the message that will be received by you will be something that will only reiterate your own connection to your own divinity, and will really just be a huge confirmation and a little bit of just a guide for whatever it is that you're experiencing and need a little bit of clarity on. So yeah, you can email me if that's something that you would like. And just remember, it can all be beautiful if you allow it to, and so it is.